When I was 7 months pregnant, I thought the hardest part of my life would be preparing for motherhood. I couldn't have been more wrong. My name is Hannah. I was 29, happily married to Ethan, and expecting our first child, a little girl we'd already decided to name Lily. Ethan worked as a firefighter, often pulling 24-hour shifts. During those long days, my parents insisted I stay with them so I wouldn't be alone. At first, it felt comforting. My mother cooked my favorite meals. My father constantly reminded me not to lift anything heavy. Everything seemed normal. Until my older sister, Claire, announced she couldn't have children. The news devastated everyone, especially my mother. From that day forward, something inside my parents changed. Every conversation became about Claire. Every family dinner became another reminder that life had treated her unfairly. I sympathized with her. She was my sister. But gradually, I noticed my pregnancy becoming less like my own joy, and more like something everyone else felt entitled to discuss. One evening, my mother quietly said, "Your baby is the first grandchild." I smiled. "I know." She stared at Claire before looking back at me. Families should make sacrifices for one another. I laughed awkwardly. "What do you mean?" "No, nothing." But her words stayed with me. Over the next few weeks, strange comments followed. Claire would make such a wonderful mother. Some women deserve happiness more than others. You already have Ethan. None of it made sense. Until one rainy Saturday afternoon. Ethan had just left for another emergency shift. Claire wasn't home. My parents asked me to join them in the living room. Their expressions weren't loving. They were determined. Mom folded her hands. "We've made a decision." A chill ran through me. A decision about what? She looked directly at my stomach. The first grandchild should be raised by Claire. I laughed because I honestly thought she was joking. No one else laughed. For several long seconds, nobody spoke. Then my father calmly explained their plan. Claire, they believed, had suffered enough. She deserved the chance to become a mother. They insisted it would be best for the family if, after the birth, my daughter were raised as Claire's child. I stared at them, convinced this had to be some kind of nightmare. "You can't be serious." My mother reached for my hand. "We are asking you to think about your sister." "No." It was the easiest answer I'd ever given. "No." The room instantly became tense. My father stepped forward, trying to stop me from leaving. In the confusion, I stumbled backward and instinctively wrapped both arms around my pregnant belly to protect my baby. My mother shouted after me, "Don't be selfish." I reached the front door with trembling hands. Before I could unlock it, the doorbell rang. Once. Then again. Loudly. My father froze. I opened the door. Standing there was Ethan. He wasn't supposed to be home. His shift had been cancelled after a mechanical problem at the station. One look at my face was enough. "Hannah." I burst into tears. He immediately stepped inside and asked, "What happened?" Before I could answer, my mother smiled nervously. "It's just a family misunderstanding." Ethan looked from my frightened face to my parents, then back at me. "Hannah." His voice softened. "Tell me." And this time, I did. Every single word. Ethan listened without interrupting. When I finished, the house was silent. Finally, he turned toward my parents. "You expected my wife to give away our daughter." My father tried to justify it. "We are thinking about Claire." Ethan answered quietly, "You stop thinking about Hannah." My mother began crying. She insisted she only wanted everyone to be happy. But happiness built on coercion isn't love. It's control. That evening, Ethan packed my overnight bag himself. We left without another argument. The following morning, Claire arrived at our apartment. She looked horrified. "I just found out." "You knew nothing." She immediately shook her head. "They told me they wanted to help me emotionally. I never asked for your baby." She cried harder than I had ever seen. I would have never accepted something like that. For the first time in weeks, I believed her. She wasn't part of the plan. She had become another victim of my parents' desperation. The months that followed weren't easy. We limited contact with my parents. Family counseling was suggested. They refused. Instead, they insisted we'd misunderstood their intentions. But intentions don't erase consequences. Our daughter, Lily, was born healthy 2 months later. The first time I held her, I made a silent promise. No one would ever make decisions about her life except those who genuinely protected her. 3 years have passed since that afternoon. Lily is now a curious little girl who loves drawing butterflies and asking impossible questions before bedtime. She knows her Aunt Claire as the fun aunt who bakes cookies and reads fairy tales. Claire eventually adopted a little boy through the foster care system. Watching her become a mother proves something important. Love doesn't require taking what belongs to someone else. It grows through patience, compassion, and choice. As for my parents, time softened some of the anger. But rebuilding trust has taken much longer. They eventually apologized. Not because they believed they were completely wrong at first, but because they finally understood how deeply they had wounded both of their daughters. Forgiveness didn't happen overnight. It happened one careful conversation at a time. Looking back, I often think about the sound of that doorbell. If Ethan hadn't come home early, I don't know how much longer I would have stood there trying to defend myself alone. Sometimes help arrives exactly when we need it most. That day didn't just protect my pregnancy. It protected my confidence, my marriage, and my daughter's future. The greatest lesson I carried forward wasn't about betrayal. It was about boundaries. Family should never demand a sacrifice that destroys another family. Real love protects. It never possesses. And every time I hear a doorbell unexpectedly ring, I'm reminded that sometimes an ordinary moment can become the beginning of an entirely new life.